All right. Greetings, everyone. So I want to start doing weekly reports. So this is going to be my attempt to do it for the kickoff for this Virgo season. I want to make a little bit more access to my YouTube channel to give you guys some updates of what to look out for. So we're going to start to do weekly reports where I'll just come in and talk about some of the changes that are going on within the planetary alignment. We'll talk about that so you can kind of see what you need to do and work on for the week. And then we'll go from there. For those of you that are in my close friends on Instagram, this is in addition to what you guys will get every day. You'll also have a weekly report. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to start off talking about the sun position. Of course, we know the sun position is in Virgo. We know anytime Virgo is in its sun position, it is helping us to work with our digestive system. It is also helping us to break things down. Okay, so let's go into where the sun position is. You guys know I like Time Passage, one of my favorite apps. Okay, sun is currently in Virgo. We're currently at 16 degrees. So we're kicking off at 16 degrees. Tomorrow, if we look at the aspects for tomorrow, I'm gonna move that out the way for a minute. If we look at the aspects for tomorrow, tomorrow is Monday the 9th. Okay, and I have it set here to time zone for Atlanta for Eastern Standard Time because I know most of my clients are on the Eastern time zone. So we know that the moon is currently in Scorpio. Tomorrow it's going to be in Scorpio as well at its last degrees at 27 degrees. So we're kicking the week off still in some watery energy. If you guys have been following my daily posts, you know I've been saying it's like being in the swamp, especially with Mars now being in Cancer, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But we're still going to kick the week off in this Scorpio watery, swampy, emotional energy as we are charging towards change and transformation. Okay. If we look at the actual sun position, right now the sun energy is at 17 degrees. Okay, so we're moving along. All right, today is again September 8th, tomorrow September 9th. So yes, still in the heat in the middle of the vibration of the sun energy of Virgo. Okay, again, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. It is a earth sign and it helps us to deal with breaking things down, okay, and grounding our energy. It is the house of health, okay, so this is where we do go to work on our physical bodies. We also work on our mindset because it is Mercury, right? We work on how we intellectually judge things, people that we're working with, ourselves as well. And we tend to sometimes develop anxiousness and anxiety due to us over processing or just doing so much analyzing of the situations that we're in. Okay, so it's going to start off the week, of course, it's going to be in Virgo. It's going to be Virgo in the whole week. But right now, not only is the sun is in Virgo, Virgo is also in the 12th house, as it will be again for the whole entire week. Anytime we're talking about the 12th house, we're in that space of where Virgo is working for perfection. So the Virgo energy that we're all working on, no matter where Virgo is in your chart, is you analyzing yourself, working, striving towards perfection because you are in a space where you know that in order for you to have the life that you truly do desire, you have to work on it. Okay, so being in this Virgo perspective of 12th house, sometimes when we are in the 12th house perspective, we get stuck. Okay, so when people start talking about feeling stuck or I feel like I can't move, a lot of that is our 12th house dynamic. So with this Virgo energy of working things out, you may feel a little stuck. You may feel like, if one of the indicators is a digestive upsets, right? If you're having issues with going to the bathroom too much, or just upset stomach, or having too much acid reflux, all that stuff is digestive. Okay, that is Virgo perspective. So wherever you have Virgo in your chart, if you're experiencing some of these things, your Virgo is out of balance and you want to work on that by seeing the spaces where you may feel like you are stuck and resistant to let go. Okay, so that you can allow yourself to build on what it means for you to go and really work those things out. Okay. Now, like I said, the moon is going to kick off in Scorpio. If we go back to the chart, gonna kick off in Scorpio tomorrow, and then it's going to change signs at 1:26 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to change into Sagittarius. We go into Sagittarius moon, the energy starts to really pick up and gets into a perspective where it's about us now going on a hunt for something, okay, or wanting to get a little bit more in depth into our truth or digging into the psychology of things. So we'll switch out of being so much in this water perspective, and then we'll bring in a little bit of heat, okay, some much needed heat into the fold as it relates to what we're dealing with in our emotions, and getting to the perspective of really working on our belief system, working on our spiritual practices, working on our philosophies and missions of life, and being willing to expand. Okay. Now, of course, we have 2.5 days of Sagittarius, so it's going to kick off in Sagittarius on the 10th. Then it's going to be in Sagittarius on the 11th. And then it's going to, so from the 9th at 1:26 p.m. Sagittarius, and then we go the 10th, the 11th, and then on the 11th at 10:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's going to change into Capricorn. When we get into the Capricorn phase of our moon energy, we start to get a little bit disconnected from our emotions, okay? We get a little bit more into our Saturn perspectives. We want to get disciplined, you know, because it becomes about our legacy. It becomes about our wealth, and our finances start to come into play. So when we start to get into those perspectives, we want to get the home in order and get space and stuff like that in order, but we are working, okay? We're ready to work and get the work done, because Capricorn is very much that perspective, okay? It's the eldest of the earth energy, right? And when it comes in, it is about us being very disciplined with our time management and those things. So we get a little bit less out of our emotions and more into what needs to be done, okay? So we're going to be in Capricorn from the Wednesday night going to Thursday, all right, and all of Friday, okay? And then we'll go into the weekend. From Friday, we'll go into Saturday morning at 3:53 a.m. We'll step into Aquarius. Aquarius is still have some share energy as the same with Capricorn. What I mean by that is a disconnected from emotional energy. Aquarius does not want to deal with the emotions at all, avoids it at all costs, okay? It much rather deal with the intellect, okay, the mindset, the future, okay, and rebelling towards those things. So we get into our Aquarius mindset over the weekend, and emotional freedom becomes the conversation, okay? It's when we want to be in groups with our friends, okay? Aquarius rule the 11th house, and is ruled by both Saturn and Uranus energy. And so when we get into this perspective, it starts to be about our house of friends and community. So we want to kind of get out, you know what I'm saying? But then sometimes in our Aquarius energy, if we're feeling a little bit withdrawn, or like we're dealing with something, we may be removed and not necessarily want to deal with people, okay? So over the weekend, we're going to stay in that perspective of dealing with Aquarius. So meaning we'll go into Aquarius Saturday morning, and then all the way through Sunday, and then we'll go into Monday morning with Aquarius energy, and then we'll shift into Pisces at 5:39 a.m. So that's our emotional week, starting off with the Scorpio moon, very intense, you know, changing, needing to change, go into our expansion planet of, or expansion energy of Sagittarius, and want to seek the energy and knowledge and psychology and that kind of stuff. We go into Capricorn, work, less emotions, and then we end out the week in dealing with our Aquarius perspective, which is all about our future, okay? All right, and then for the week, we're going to also look at, we back up and go to the 9th, okay? And I want to see the perspectives of where. All right, we talked about the sun, talked about the moon, right? Let's see. All right, where is Mercury going to be? Okay, so Mercury again kicks off in the energy of Virgo, okay? It's currently at 0 degrees. Okay, if we look at Mercury, look at the perspective of it. Mercury in Virgo. And of course, we know that right now Virgo's in the 12th house, so Mercury is also in the 12th house. So our communication is also up to play with that same conversation we were talking about earlier with Virgo being stuck and being in the 12th house. So some parts of our conversation or our communication could also be feeling a little bit stuck too, okay? With this energy. When it comes down to this, because that Virgo energy is willing to work, we have to be also watch how we speak, okay? Watch how we speak about ourselves and watch about how we speak about the people that we have decided that we want to work with. This is where our heavy judgment comes in that can allow us to go on this free fall of just think, process, okay? And creates a rabbit hole of emotions, okay? That are not necessarily real because you're doing so much, you know what I'm saying, woe is me in that 12th house perspective, okay? Now, if we look at just knowing how Mercury is, Mercury just got out of retrograde. Okay, it started off in Virgo and then it moved backwards into Leo. And we was in that Leo perspective for like 14, 15 days. And it was in Virgo to kick off. And then now it's back in Virgo. So we back in that conversation that we was in before it went into retrograde. So somewhere around the end of July, when Mercury switched into Virgo and that conversation started. This is also some part of that. This is also some part of the retrograde energy that we also experience in April, right? You know, even though we're out of the Mercury retrograde, we still have the shadow phase. So in these shadow phases, they are connected. So all this Mercury communication, the themes of the communication for this year, all of this is wrapped into what we're currently dealing with as we've wrapped up this particular part of the retrograde. So now, you know what I'm saying? We're breaking things down, right? That's what Virgo does. We're breaking down the communication. We're breaking down what's been going on. So we can, again, perfection is the aim, okay? Analyzation is the aim. So all the things that we're doing is so that we can better learn ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Get deeper into our intellect, you know, and allow ourselves to really get better when it comes down to how we work within ourselves, all right? So Mercury's going to be in Virgo for the entire week, all right? And then we got Venus. Venus is currently in the sign of Libra, okay? Venus is currently in our first house or in the world chart is in the first house. All right. Venus loves to be with Libra. We know this because Venus is the home planet or is the planet that rules Libra. So anytime we get into this, oh my God, love and relationships become the number one topic. Okay. But also beauty and us wanting to beautify ourselves. And also entertainment comes into the perspective of us wanting to go to concerts and be more out into live music and just doing things that has something to do with entertainment, as well as law and order come in this perspective as well. So as we are building on all these particular perspectives, if we have any issues surrounding these things, this is going to be the theme of what's going to pull up. So determining where you have Libra in your chart and also where Venus is currently in your chart, this conversation is going to determine how that shows up for you. But overall, we're dealing with these foundations. We're dealing with love and relationships. We're dealing with business partners. We're dealing with our beauty regimens and how we're taking care of ourselves and how we want to be more beautiful and all those things, our wardrobe, our outer appearance, just our attractiveness. We're also working within the law. So we got some law things we need to clear up, you know what I'm saying? Or we've been in court or court may be coming up. All this energy is coming out whenever we're dealing with Venus being in Libra. Now, Venus is in the first house. So this also influence our personality and also influences what we look like, right? How we showing up, okay? So depending on what your first house is too, this is also a part of that conversation because Venus is in the first house, which means no matter where your first house energy is also stimulating some part of that, you know what I'm saying? So just using me for an example, first house Leo, just redyed my hair color or went a little bit lighter. It wasn't even my goal to even do that. I just told him I wanted to retouch and this is what he did. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to go with it. But Leo rising, gold tones, hair, very indicative of a Leo rising energy. So watch where this energy is also showing up for you. You know, it's going to be in this space for a minute. All right. And how it's working within your own self as it relates to how you feel about yourself, how it relates to how you are loving on yourself and what you are attracting in relationships. If you're already in a relationship, how are you deepening your partnership? Okay. If you're not in a relationship and you do have a sense of wanting to be in partnership, what are you willing to balance and compromise? Okay. When we think about Libra, that's his job. His job is to come in and seek balance. So sometimes you'll hear Libra say, "Oh, I'm a Libra. I'm the scale, so I'm balanced." No. Libra in our chart is where we are seeking balance. Okay, so during this Venus and Libra energy, we are seeking balance to our relationship. So whether you are in a relationship currently, or again attracting a relationship, or just building a better relationship with yourself, finding balance. Okay, between working on yourself and who you are and how you appear and how you want to be. Okay, and all of that tends to show up, okay, in this perspective of dealing with Venus and Libra. If you're wondering what site I'm using AstroSeek. You can pull up anything you want on this. It's definitely a futuristic chart, meaning help you to see not just the day, but you can go many days in advance to work on different things that you may need to put in place for a date. But it's really good to track moon cycles as well. So really good site. I'll make sure I put it in the description. All right, so talked about Venus. Okay, Mars is currently in Cancer. Ugh, Mars does not like being in Cancer. Okay, Mars in Cancer is in its fall. Okay, which is it just doesn't like it. Okay, why doesn't it like it? Because Mars is fiery, it's heat. Okay, it's ready to go. I'm ready to go right now. It's the theme song for Mars. Cancer is I'm playing in my baby pool. Okay. So these two things that doesn't necessarily mix together very well. Okay, it makes a very emotional and moody position. Okay, we get a lot more irritated, when Mars is in Cancer, because it's just not moving as we would want it to move. Okay, because it has a lot of complication to it, and a lot of it is, Cancer likes to hang on to things. And because it likes to hang on to things, it's very comfortable in that position. It's programming, right? So because it likes to hang on to things, it gets stuck a lot. Okay. So Mars it will cut ties, burn ties, fight ties, whatever it's got to do to disconnect. So these two things are almost like in a battle with each other as they're working things out. Now, I tend to think the beautiful thing about Mars and Cancer, because things are not necessarily moving as we would normally want them to, is forcing you to look at other things that Cancer brings about. So wherever you have Cancer in your chart, it's forcing you to also look at, okay, I'll use me for example, I have Jupiter and Cancer in the 12th. So some things in where I may want to expand or may want to clear karma or break free from some things in dealing with the family dynamic. What may be getting in the way? What may be preventing this movement, right? And so when we think about Cancer as a whole, it is family programming, right? It's very much the womb, but it's also very much your lack of self-care. So one of the things that can help us as we are moving through this energy of Mars and Cancer is tighten up on self-care. Think about spaces where we are not doing enough when it comes down to taking care of ourselves, right? We are still very much putting it off, or I need to handle this and handle that. And I understand we all got responsibilities, but on the other end of it, even though we do have responsibilities, if you transition because you got responsibilities, it ain't gonna matter about those things, right? So taking care of you has to be top priority when it comes down to looking at the cycle of Mars dealing with Cancer. Okay, self-care. How are you nurturing yourself versus giving all this nurturing energy to everyone else, especially like family energy? Okay, again, it determines where your Cancer energy may show up, determines whether this moon vibration is really showing up for you. Is going to be exactly how this is going to move. Now, Mars is in the 10th house in the world chart, or the positionary chart. And because it is, when we talk about Mars being in the 10th house is where we show our, who we're supposed to be, is our social status, right? It's how we show up, is how the world looks at you as far as what they want to pay you for, what your expertise can be, right? Is in this particular perspective. So now we think about the fact that Mars being in Cancer is in the 10th house. you may be feeling some sluggish surrounding like the next phase of what your life is going to look like. So if you're currently in business, you've been maybe want to change up certain things about business, but you're just not sure on what direction you want to be in. Okay. You're a little bit moody surrounding it too, because you may be tired. Maybe it's time to activate some new technology in, bring AI in, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of learning things, right? That could be a part of the moodiness surrounding advancing yourself, right? Or advancing what you see for yourself as it relates to your career and as it relates to you improving yourself to the next level, right? Because it's 10th house, it's that particular advancement. And Saturn comes to play in that 10th house. So it is structure, it is discipline, it is time management. So can you do these things? Yes. Do you want to do them? No. You comfortable with how things have been. Why do I need to change it? Why do we need change? Because change is evident when it comes down to how we grow. Okay. Anything that's not growing is dead. So we're at a level where you're in your career, whether you work for someone or whether you work for yourself, well, it's time for you to find a new way, right? To implement some new things to bring about more income. Now, Cancer is the back door to Capricorn, which I call the bank. Okay. I call Capricorn the bank and Cancer the spender of the bank. Okay. So we all know, like, we've been going through this little bit of a financial crunch going on. You know what I'm saying? So we think about that as it relates to the Cancer being the spender of the bank if the money has been getting a little bit low. So we know that this is giving us an opportunity to take care of ourselves, slow down. So don't panic, okay? The money is seem like it's getting a little bit short. It's okay. The universe gonna always provide and make sure what you need. So put your self-care in place. Allow the universe to see what you need, and I promise you, you'll get the money to take care of these things. Okay. So taking care of yourself, slowing down, resting, okay, nurturing yourself. You know what I'm saying? Watching your shows, maybe catching up on some series, you know what I'm saying? But definitely nurturing and taking care of yourself. There's a difference between escapism and nurturing. Okay. So this is not where it's a time for us to tap into escapism and being mad and moody. So you don't want to talk to nobody. No, this is very much self-care time, right? Looking at, even if it's just self-care, you doing things in the house for yourself, cleaning the house, getting rid of the clutter. All of these are things. Cancer, again, 4th house nurturing energy. So some things that we may need to happen on the social front when it comes down to our careers, and those changes may also be things that need to happen on our home front, meaning like, you know, resistance of us not throwing things away, being attached, right? We want better relationships, right? You know, we talk about a little bit about that energy of where Venus is too, right? So when we think about this energy of us wanting better, detaching from things and letting things go allows us to have better. So one of those movement things, we want to move, you have to cut the weight, okay? And the weight is just sometimes is energetic in the sense of your thought process and how you have been hanging on to your own trauma over time because you think it's a part of the fabric of who you are, and it's not. It was just an experience. So learning how to deal with that, self-care comes in to help us to detach from those things, okay? So Mars and Cancer, very much a part of the conversation, very deeply this week, all right? All right, so now moving to the energy of Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is in Gemini, has been in Gemini for a minute. It's going to be in Gemini for a minute until Cancer season, until July of 2025. All right, so Jupiter is going to illuminate every spaces of where it is. All right. Jupiter is, again, currently in Gemini, and it is currently in the 9th house, okay? A 9th house of travel and psychology and religion and higher education and long distance travel and, you know, the teacher and the student, okay? The balance between initiation of yourself, right? And grounding when it comes down to your spiritual perspective. So in this perspective, as we're dealing with Jupiter, especially like in the energy of just being in Gemini, we're learning different aspects of ourselves and learning how to allow ourselves to expand with that. Now, Jupiter, Gemini can be very much like a, ooh, what's going on, right? Very all over the place. And Jupiter will expand that energy. So depending on where you have that Jupiter perspective, this has a lot to do with your mindset, okay? So meaning like if you're disciplined in this time, Jupiter is going to expand the ways in which Gemini is processing, okay? The ways in which Gemini is talking to you mentally, okay? Gemini rules that part of our brain, right? And Sagittarius is the back door to that. So they're working in tandem. They're working hand in hand. So I like to think that whenever Jupiter and Gemini is together, it can be a little bit like whoop, 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 expand, whoop, 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 right? But at the same time, it is very much you putting yourself into a perspective of getting deeper into your writing. So if you've had books that you haven't been able to complete, this is going to be the cycle that you're going to complete it. Even if it's not a book, anything in writing or anything in studies or going back to school, like a lot of you have been processing that. A lot of us have been processing that. This Jupiter and Gemini series is going to be the energy that a lot of us go back to school and maybe get something really quick. You know what I'm saying? Don't mean that you don't go back to school for like a 4-year program, but does definitely mean that certificates and getting a little bit levels of more tools under your belt so that you can again advance, right, your career. Going back a little bit, we were talking about in the last perspective, all of it is working in tandem together. Okay, so as you tend to tap deeper into this perspective of going back to get more, to allow yourself to expand, because that's really what it's about, it's going to give energy into this next phase of what we see life for the next 20 years. Okay, a lot of change is happening right now, and I know a lot of it is scary, but at the same time a lot of it is really good because it's giving you the permission to do the thing that you always said you wanted to do. So now you don't have no excuse. Before you had to do this and that and that. Well, all those things have changed. So since they have changed, you got the opportunity to expand. Okay, so think about your higher education. Think about the fact that you said that you wanted to go travel somewhere. You ain't gone, so now it's time to go. Think about the said you was going to finish that masterpiece that is your paint and your art. Think about the fact you said that you was going to finish up anything to do with your books, or you was developing this product or this program or this outfit. You was going to launch that business. All of that energy is kicking up a lot as it relates to this Jupiter and Gemini energy. Really working with this, okay? All right, now we're getting to the retrograde sections of the week. Okay, we talked about all how these planetary energies are going to play in and how they have been playing in. Now we get to talk about Saturn. Okay, so Saturn, of course, we know is in Pisces, is going to be in Pisces until December. Okay. Now, in this energy of being there, it is currently in our 6th house perspective, which is the house of health, which is our bodies. Okay, it's dealing with that whole perspective. Saturn being in Pisces energy is one of those perspectives where when you start to, you can no longer ignore that your disciplinary actions have been the problem. You can no longer ignore that you are just not doing what you said you're going to do with your time. You're not doing what you said you're going to do about not sabotaging your life with doing more for people than you say you're going to do for yourself. These things can no longer take place. Why? Because they're getting in the way of how we transition. Pisces is the end. It is the omega. Okay, so it is taking us from the end to the beginning. So in order for us to go complete to the end, we got to confront these things that are preventing us from getting to the finish line. Okay, and we are very much stopped from the finish line if we are being blocked by all these other spaces or all these other things that we are allowing to distract us, that we are calling, whatever, helping in the name of friendship, helping in the name of family. It don't matter what you call it. Still escapism, still taking you away from yourself. So this Saturn and Pisces retrograde season from now to the end of the year is very much having us to pull things back. It's having us very much go and look at our health, right? So if you haven't been to the doctor in a while, time to go do a little checkup just to see what's going on. One of the things that you need to be reminded of is that getting a checkup is not a death sentence. I don't care what they tell you. Okay, it is just that, a checkup, because whenever they pull fluids or they check whatever biopsies, these things is only showing you where your body is currently at this state of taking that particular sample. Is always an opportunity for you to turn things around. Okay, so checking up, getting things checked to see what you can work on in your body is really good to help you to also move forward and being able to disconnect from some of those issues that you have when it comes down to, the bad habits. Okay. Pisces is sometimes where we use those bad habits and those vices to escape. Okay. So if alcoholism has been an issue and your liver ain't, being as strong, might go get your liver checked, you know what I'm saying? Just so that you can, if you're going to continue to drink anyway, hey, you still may need to go get your liver checked because maybe you need to change the type of alcohol, right? That you need to drink, whatever the case may be. I'm not here to promote one way or the other. I'm just saying it being in the 6th house perspective is bringing some change. It's bringing some awareness when it comes down to our discipline, our disciplinary actions. It's bringing some awareness when it comes down to the structures that we have, you know what I'm saying? The things that we know we need to do to mature, to get better. Okay. Saturn is a very strict teacher. It is the drill sergeant. It is going to boot camp. So it is getting your life in order because you know it is necessary. All right. So it's going to continue to be in retrograde for this entire week. Okay, it's going to kick off with the opposites into the sun. So got some aspects that we're going to kind of go back and talk about too. Okay, Uranus is also in retrograde. Okay, it's in retrograde in Taurus, and it's been kicking up a little funk since July. Okay, so it's kind of going in and out of those positions of creating a little bit of stuff. We got some aspects too that's going on for, you know, today has been going on throughout the week. Again, we'll go back and talk about those. But anytime we're dealing with Uranus, dealing with Taurus, Uranus is very much so in a better position than dealing with Aquarius, but it deals with the power of the future and the awakening and also the unpredictable nature of some things. Okay, it's breaking free and it's about us going into the future. So we don't know what the future holds, but we still like to plan it out. We still got trips planned for our birthday next year, right? But we don't know what's going to happen, right? This is very much Uranus energy. So when we're dealing with it in a Taurus perspective and it's in the ninth house, Taurus is all about luxury. Taurus is all about values, foundations, relationships. Okay. It's all about us, you know, really having the good life. It is ruled very much by Venus. It's the very position of Venus. And so when it comes into play, it just wants the best of everything. But when we're dealing with it from a Uranus perspective, right? Uranus is break free, go to the future. So we have to look at all the foundational words that go along with Taurus and how this conversation of Uranus is addressing that, right? So we're talking about money, values, foundations, and we're talking about Uranus and breaking free from that. Then we start to see things like cryptocurrency, or we get to see new things, new luxuries, new ways of being when it comes down to what Taurus actually means for us. Okay, so our foundations are changing because our values are changing now. Okay, we're moving into a different thing about what money really means for us and what the true value means for us. Like for some people, having $10 million may be great. So somebody else having a farm that has all the animals on it is their definition of being wealthy, right? So we're starting to really get into almost like a divide and a split between like this new world perspective and kind of like this old world perspective. And when I mean old world perspective, I mean like taking care of yourself by Mother Nature, right? And when I mean new world perspective, I mean technology being also a way to aid in that. So some of us are going to split naturally and go all the way back towards nature. And some of us are going to split and go all the way towards, you know, technology. And they're going to always be a very small, minute that's going to be in the middle. Okay. Those of us who know that Mother Nature and nature in itself is going to always be supreme, but we also want to make life easier. So incorporating form of technology, right? Bring the future, bringing these things in is going to help us, especially when it comes down to generating more. Okay. I think we're going to start to see money in a different perspective instead of us only looking at it from a fiat currency. We're going to start to really look at money as energy. So it's going to start to advance our technology as it relates to how we see luxury, how we see like higher learning. We've, you know, been going to school online, but I feel like these things are going to improve. It's going to also improve like our religious practices and how we come together on philosophies. I think travel is going to get better. You know what I'm saying? I feel like public transits are going to start to like pop up more so we can kind of do more traveling and get to places faster. All of this energy that's coming about, but because it's retrograde, it's going to have some fight first. Okay. So you're going to start to see more fight when it comes down to like transportation stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? So we may see more fights, you know, or wars going on as it relates to like how the airlines are showing up not doing what they're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So maybe union fights surrounding that, or union fights surrounding like transportation as a whole. You know what I'm saying? I think there's some stuff going on over here in Mexico within the taxis and Uber system. So stuff like that is very indicative of the retrograde of Uranus and this Taurus energy and how it's moving us forward. Now, when we get out of this little bit of a fight, you know, as it relates to like this retrograde energy, we're going to be clear on how we want to move forward and how we want to reestablish the new levels of, again, how we want to live, right? We want to live and have these easier systems, but sometimes they do cost, right? And we have to decide what we're willing to put out there for the cost of those things, all right? So that's also something that's going to be very in the conversation of this week, all right? Next retrograde is Neptune retrograde. Okay, Neptune is in Pisces, so it's retrograding right along in Pisces with the Saturn. Okay, so both of these energies. So Neptune is at home in Pisces. So the retrograde part of it is just the vibration that we're dealing with it in. And anytime we're dealing with the retrograde in Neptune, that means our dreams. You know, some of us maybe that was having dreams may not be having dreams now. Some of you that wasn't having dreams could be having dreams. Like it's switched around a little bit, okay? And when we get into this space and we start to like really look at the past, we look at old ways, old things start to come up because we are in a retrograde perspective, but we're very magical right now, okay, with this energy, with this Neptune, even though it is retrograde, but Neptune in Pisces is very magical. Now, because Neptune is in the seventh house, this is also bringing some attention to our marriage or our partnership. So some part of us may be dealing with fantasies as it relates to the partners that we want, or we may be in relationships trying to make our partners some type of fantasy, or we're in relationship with somebody and we feel like, you know, there's a better fantasy out there. We're just really dealing with, you know, this lack of illusion, delusion, and reality is really coming up for us when it comes down to how we're moving forward in our relationships between our partnerships and, you know, co-partnerships too. So this can definitely be a business partner as well, but we are really working through the shambles as it relates to like some issues that have been going on when it comes down to how we've been, again, taking care of ourselves and our relationships as it relates to our dreams. Maybe some part of the relationships we're in, we have been letting it get in the way of our dreams or us achieving our dreams. So his energy is also being stirred up to like, hey, do you remember what you said? Do you remember what you wanted? Do you remember? It's time to speak up, okay? It being in that seventh house dynamic means that we need to have deeper conversations, right? We need to be able to pull our partners to the side and be like, hey, you know, I need to reveal some things to you. I need to tell some things to you. You know, feel vulnerable. This is a vulnerable energy during this retrograde that we should be able to see ourselves, that we need to be a little bit more transparent because we assume that people are mind readers, you know, and I'm going to say they are mind readers of their own, okay? They read their own mind first. Your mind may be giving off some signals, but not as strong as their mind, okay? So it's better to communicate within these relationships your dreams, because sometimes your partners have the same dreams and want to do stuff, but you don't want to say it. Now you sneaking around, causing all kinds of deception, okay? Causing all kinds of energy, creating fantasies and fallacies in these fantasies just to get your way, versus you being able to clearly communicate what it is that you need and you desire so that your partnership can grow in the ways in which you want it to grow. It is about seventh house. So again, this could be about business. This could be about, you know, that partnership you in that band and the band starting to have problems. Maybe it has a lot to do with the fact that you just not communicating what your end goal is. Sometimes we get in things that we don't have an end goal. And let me tell you this, because sometimes people are afraid to stay with their end goal is, but you can change it. Sometimes an end goal is just to give an insight on what's going on right now. It's the same thing if you going to the doctor to get a checkup. You're just checking up on what's going on with you right now. When you are communicating within your relationships, your dreams and your desires, right? And right now it's retrograde, so you're reviewing those things. You are brought to light on some things. You are being shown spaces where you don't have to keep giving up yourself for that. That's a habit. You start to see, well, maybe this is some patterns of my family brokenness that I need to fix. And every time it's going to be, right? Because we're here to learn those lessons. But it's definitely about us being more in exposure, okay, of our intentions of what it is that we are bringing to the forefront. So this energy also is going to, be in retrograde until the end of the year. We got end of year things happening. Now we know that the last retrograde is the Pluto retrograde that's in Capricorn. Okay, it's been back in Capricorn since the first. Okay, now it has been in Aquarius, okay, in retrograde since January, and now it's back in Capricorn. Okay, and then it's going to go back in Aquarius again. Okay, so we've been doing this dance with Pluto and Capricorn and Aquarius for like a minute. Okay, and because we've been doing this dance, whenever we're dealing with the energy of Pluto and Capricorn, and it's in the fifth house, oh my God, change is very paramount. Okay. Now, Pluto deals with the planet of change, transformation, rebirth. Okay. It does have a lot to do with us breaking some dark energy that we may have been dealing with as it relates to why we are not changing. Right. So it brings up all those things. Now, when we have the energy of it dealing with Capricorn has a lot of vibration in dealing with patterns and dealing with our masculinity, our work dynamics, our legacy dynamics, us working for ourselves versus working for others. A lot of energy as it relates to, again, dealing with the structures of our disciplinary actions and our time management. So it brings up these things of where we need to really watch where we need to change certain things. Now, because it is also in Capricorn and it also deals with like our major structure. So this is also our government. So when Pluto first went into Capricorn, we saw some major stuff happening and come out the pipeline. I feel like this energy is also kind of like segueing us into this election. So it's going to start to bring out a lot of more details that we did not know. I feel like some exposure things are going to still start to come out that we're going to start to see more and more since Pluto has gone back into Capricorn. But for us as a collective, this is very much about you. It's very much about your Capricorn placements, your energy. What are you doing when it comes down to the advancement of your legacy? And are you overworking yourself? Are you finding the balance between your masculinity and your femininity by using proper time management? Are you using the polar opposite energy of the Capricorn, tapping into that Cancer vibration to make sure that you are doing your self-care so that Capricorn masculinity can stay in place, right? Are you changing the dynamics of it, or are you following the same rhetoric of your mother and her masculine energy? Or are you following the same rhetoric of your father and his masculinity? Are you disconnected from yourself and your source because of these childhood programs or these things that you see in the government or these things you see in the world? What is preventing you from just really stepping up to do what you need to do to be an example to yourself, to make these changes in your programs, right? It's in the fifth house. So it is about very much what you are showing, right? It's very much of how you are on the stage. Fifth house is also our inner child. So it's also about, are you talking to, nurturing, and allowing your inner child to change? Or are you stuck and blocked in a lot of ways in which you are just ignoring yourself right now? Because I got to work. I got to get this done. I got to get that done. I don't have time, which is only making you have a deeper broken heart perspective. Why broken heart? Fifth house is the Leo house. It is the heart perspective. So we're talking about the fifth house in order for you to have more courage, in order for you to activate true willpower. You have to step out on that stage. You have to allow yourself to see yourself in the sun perspective. You have to allow yourself to do that. So some part of this change, right? Some part of how you see the world, right? What you see on the outside is also what we see on the inside. And I know a lot of us don't want to believe that because we don't want to think that we are that terrible or we're that bad. But as a collective, we are, because we're not willing to make these internal changes that is going to reflect the outside. So we're not willing to make the changes, then your neighbor is not willing to make the changes. See, it becomes a long list and a long line of us ignoring ourselves, and I know we don't think it's important, but it's extremely important, because what you do not do, what you do not change and bring forward in this world affects every single person. I know that's another thing. I don't want to believe that we are connected and interconnected. Yes, we are. So the people that you are in relationship with right now, whether it be friend or family member, whether it be lover or side chick or side dude or whatever, everybody has already signed up to be a part of this contract. We've been doing this for eons, over and over and over again, having different experiences, going to different planets, going to different places, doing this stuff all over again. You signed it. So when you get a chance to look at your chart and see where these energies play in your particular chart and look at how the energy is speaking out for the week, it allows you to have a better grip and a better balance on how you need to honor your contract. And when I mean your contract, this is about you first. What you do affects all of us. What you do affects your future. It affects your present. It affects your past. We're all connected together. Okay. So those are just the places of where the energy is going to be for the week. Really